under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, show the record, let the record show that Bob, Carol, and Ed are here. Flavia's on her way, and Doug will not be present today. And our attorney is on the way, stuck out from the interstate somewhere. Approval of the final agenda. Any changes or adjustments to it necessary? Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment?
I have one.
We have one.
Tom Murphy, he has two topics. One is agenda item 9C, the other is a non-agenda item. Just a reminder, you have 3 minutes.
Your luck tonight, my comments are all pretty quick.
Please state your name for the record.
Tom Murphy, Stony Brook. I have 3 items that I'd like to bring to your attention. First, I want to thank Chelsea and her team for their cooperation and assistance in helping us spend down the balance of the 004 funds within our community. They've given us great guidance, so we appreciate that. With that said, you have before you on your agenda item 9C. I want to let you know that our entire board supports your approval of this item. So it's on there, and we would hope that you would approve it when the time comes. Item 2, on May 9th, I submitted a request to Doug, who's not here unfortunately, and subsequently on the 16th, a copy to Chelsea. And my request was to be exempted from Resolution 2020-507, the Utility Availability Fee Policy. I was wondering if any decision has been made with regard to the request. And I also have copies if you'd like them.
If any exceptions will have to come in front of the board as a formal
Okay,
request.
so here I am at a formal request. Would you like me to give you copies of what I made, what I sent?
And we'll put it on the next agenda.
Okay. Should I leave the
I'll
copies?
take it.
Here's the copy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This was on the fee schedule?
This was on the utility fee schedule with regards to the empty parcels being charged availability fees.
Okay, my last item, the lake restoration in our community has come to an end. The next step in that area is to install the new odor control and fencing for the lift station. Our board was told that the CDD would not be paying to replace the shrubs and landscaping that was there. We were told to ask the supervisors to replace it, so I am here to request that the CDD restore the landscape that was removed in order to perform the lake restoration.
Why would we not have landscape as part of the project?
We don't replace shrubs, we replace sod. That has typically been the policy for all of our lake beds.
So, but is this stuff something that's in an easement?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I've taken pictures. I did not bring them with me, but of course we could provide them.
So who's responsible for putting in the shrubbery?
The HOA, if they choose
So
to
it's
reinstall it.
whoever the owner of the easement is.
We own these.
I don't mean who's the owner of the easement.
Property
Who
owner.
owns the property?
Property.
Yeah, property owner. Okay, so it'd be just like any other,
Like every
between
place
two
else.
houses. If we go between two houses, we replace the sod, but not the landscape.
Correct,
Same thing around the utility box in the neighborhood.
correct.
So I guess then that would be a no.
Correct.
Is that correct?
You got it, Tom.
Okay, all right, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate your time.
All right, I don't have anything else.
Anything else?
Nope, no more public comment.
Stall it off trying to get Bobby here before we have the.
If you want to go to the next item, I can.
Yeah,
I can
let's do that, because I know Flavia wanted to be here for that too. Advisory committee items and reports?
We provided the Pelican Preserve Advisory Committee report on behalf of Peggy, and if there's any questions, please let us know. So the board has requested.
It was very informative.
I will say that we did not receive the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee report. They did not provide that in time for this agenda, but we will make sure. I think they're on hiatus this summer.
Did they have a meeting, or was it
They
canceled?
No, they did.
But I think they're off like September.
Yeah, I believe like many of the other committees and subcommittees, they've taken off the summer since a lot of folks are traveling and they won't have quorum. But yeah, you asked that your direct committees provide a monthly report, and so PrAC did not provide it, but PPAC did.
Approval of minutes, anybody have any ones they want to hold, or is there approval of A through D?
I move approval of 8A, B, C, and D.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There you go. Consent agenda items. Well, we're going down here.
They better hurry up, or we're gonna miss the meeting.
This will be a one-year-old record meeting. Does anybody want to pull any of the consent agenda items A through E?
I move on agenda items 9A, B, C, D, and E.
Your second.
I'll second.
Thanks, Bob.
And Tony, do we pay you by the word? for this?
You got off cheap
Is
this
this a
time.
flat fee or
Well-
is this per word?
It's per typing word, and my typing skills are horrible. No, but the benefit of this is based upon the one from 2020. So it's just a matter of bringing it current, so.
Carol, every word I correct of his, we get money
The
back.
It's a credit.
The explanation was as long as the paragraph.
And usually
Every minute is a credit.
Chelsea overcorrects to get more of a credit.
The 9D was a mini book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a motion on the floor, a second to approve consent agenda items A through E. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None.
I saw Flavia just pulled in, but if you want to get Tetra Tech, so that way they can be gone. All
Yeah.
right.
Check,
Steven?
we're gonna get you so you can be gone.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Thanks, guys.
Steven.
This
Hi,
is
Steve.
Stephen Agapi, Tetra Tech District Engineer. Can you all hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, so first up, we have the irrigation pump station generator. The contractor has the permit in hand. They just sent us an updated schedule this week. They plan to break ground the week of July 14th, so next month, and that will go through August, September if everything goes well. Irrigation enforcement improvements, we have submitted.
Is this that generator that we've been waiting for like 2 years?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay,
we got it.
It's
Finally.
here. Yeah.
it's here. Okay,
It's here.
thank you.
Do we have to
irrigation-
take it up?
No.
Go ahead, Steve.
Irrigation enforcement improvements, we have submitted to SRF a request for inclusion to be considered for construction funding for the irrigation enforcement project. So that will go to FDP SRF's August hearing. So we'll find out in late August whether or not that was approved for construction funds. And at the same time, it's being reviewed by HMGP for funding. Lower Hawthorne Well, that project is getting close to the end. We're waiting on restoration of the site and completion of the fence for that to get completed. Gateway Utility Storage Building, the building has been erected. Contractor got the overhead door hung last week. They're working on landscaping and some punch list items to finish that project up. FY24 lakes, these are MRI's lakes. Walkthrough was completed last week, so there's a punch list out there they are working on to wrap that up. FY25 lakes, Met Tower completed 2 and CMB completed another 2. Both of the contractors are working on their punch list to close out those. There will be 2 other lakes as part of this project that are going to get delayed until the next dry season.
Steve, question on that. I'm getting questions from people in the community. Have all of the sluice gates been closed? They're all closed?
I think they were
No, they're
closed.
open. Okay.
I think they've been closed for a while. I'm not sure. That'd be a good question for Paul or Stephanie or Elle.
The reason I ask is we don't see water levels rising and we've been getting some pretty good rains, so.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. Even in my neighborhood, I was just looking at the drought map. We're still in a severe drought, so it may take a while for it to rebound.
Thank you.
Lake bank restoration, HMGP. Surveying has been ordered. Surveyor's been out in the field, and we've been working on the back end, pulling all the historic permitting data, landscaping plans, and everything else to start working on the design of those lakes. Public Works Storage Building, we got the approved task authorization at the last meeting. Eric is going to be working on that project, and I think people are already lined up and starting to work on that. The Gateway Commons Park and Admin Building, the first lift has been completed and graded for the building. The next step is the footers. That'll probably happen next week, and they are also grading on the east side of the property for the park. CCTV sewer, contractor is about 40% complete with their cleaning and CCTV inspection. So far, the data that we've received looks good. They're waiting on a right-of-way permit to complete the rest of the work. CCTV storm, contractor is scheduled to mobilize on Monday. I believe they're going to start in villages at Stony Brook, and that's on Monday. Pelican Lakes 47 and 48, we completed a walkthrough. Brad has a punch list, and he's planning on installing littorals, I think, within the next 7 days. Development updates, Arborwood still has a punch list for stormwater. Based on recent communications, it looks like they're getting to the end of that. Daniels Parkway Apartments, we are just on hold right now, waiting on information from the developer. Santa Luz, I don't have any updates on that. I think Chelsea is working on that in the background. Garrett FM, we were able to flush the potable line, and we're waiting on scheduling a pressure test for the potable water line, which should happen probably next week or the week after. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Any update from you or Tony on Santa Luz? I'll ask again.
I had a conversation this week with the attorney for the association, Rob Cooper. I had a good conversation with him. And part of our communications that we staff have had with the Lennar group was that the 558 defect action that apparently a claim was made against Lennar US Home, it was asserted that the Lake Bank issue was part of that claim. In my conversation with counsel for the association, he says that's not the case. He was going to double check though. And so he was going to dig it up and see if he can provide it. I think it was a supplementary report, but so that would clarify that and help sort of pin down that particular aspect, because part of the conversation was to Lennar US Home was, let's carve out, if in fact that Lake Bank issue or the pipes is part of these 558, let's carve that out from the balance of the 558, construction defects, buildings, etc. And so, again, that was positive. It was good talking with Mr. Cooper, that's their attorney, and he was going to check with his client and also provide other documents. I gave him some documents we had that I wasn't sure he had. And so we talked to Chelsea about the approach of sending, once we get more photographs of the current condition and sending an update in with costs, send that to Lennar and give them a time frame which to respond.
So
Well, the president of the association, I talked to him, this was a month and a half ago, and he said that was not a part of that 558.
That's what Mr. Cooper said.
Yeah.
So since the last meeting, I reached out to their president. It's a woman for Arborwood Phase 3, Suzanne Spren. That prompted Tony's conversation. I have reached out to pond bank vendors to solicit a proposal, restoring it to the permitted conditions that it's supposed to be at. Those proposals are due back Friday, if not Monday. And so as soon as I have those, I'll give those to Tony. So we have cost associated to make necessary repairs. And
demand, and put a dollar figure in the demand.
So in other words, we're going to go in and take over it and do it and then bill them?
That's not the game plan right now, is to say, hey, here's some quotes, here's some vendors to do the work. You need to do the work.
Which is to prompt them a little bit
more. And the difficulty is now we're in the rainy season. We've talked about that too, the difficulty.
Well, it's getting worse by day, and every time we get a significant rain with runoff, it just gets that much worse.
And Tetra Tech does inspect it monthly, and we do get written reports, pictures from them, so we are monitoring that each month.
Well, do we have a cost in mind of what it would take to fix it?
I'm waiting.
So we could just escrow that amount if it gets past rainy season? Do it next year, just put it in escrow.
I don't even suggest that to the people over there, they're so mad already. What is it, about 800 feet
I don't know.
at the ballpark? 800 feet?
Well, because-
$200 a foot.
Yeah,
I guess the proposal, because it includes the crushed pipe plus the lake bank restoration, so.
yeah, it's a little bit of, some collateral damage.
Yeah, and that's what Chelsea indicates she hopefully will have by Friday, if not Monday.
Yeah.
hopefully.
So I'll have a number to that by Monday.
Okay, well, I mean, worst case scenario, put escrow.
Well, we don't have an active bond on file that we can hold.
No, it's part of this agreement, just put it in there as an escrow now.
Well, I don't know about an agreement, because Lennar US Home has not been very amenable to agreements, let me put it that way.
We're pushing it more than them, is that what you look
Well, Lennar US Home is not pushing it at all, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We've been trying to push them, and they've been quiet or non-responsive.
We're hoping that with our communications with the HOA, that we're pushing on both fronts, we'll get some action. But I don't anticipate Lennar wanting to do anything to the bond bank because it's rainy season and they don't want to pay for things twice. So, but we're putting pressure.
And one other aspect, we're trying to identify who the vendor was or party was that engaged in the activities that crushed the pipe.
Good luck with that.
I'm going to guess what it was the guy that came in and delivered the sod at the very end of the project. I mean, when you put that pipe and it's got about 8-10 inch bury depth, and you run those heavy trucks over it.
With the sod.
Yeah, with that collapsible pipe, it's going to crush it. It wasn't thought out at all. So, anybody else have anything for Stephen?
And I did receive an updated timeline from OAK regarding the building, and we're still online. We're still shooting for April. So you're gonna see a lot of movement here in the next coming weeks.
Are they putting the filter fabric on the fence all the way around, or, because it looks like they only ran about halfway down and quit?
I believe so, but I can confirm.
Looks like funny that you can drive by and can't see, and then the other part of the fence is wide open, like, we want you to see this part, we don't want you to see that.
And Stephen, you didn't mention the pond in Pelican. They put in the 22,000, almost finished 22,000 littorals in there this week. Really looks great.
Oh, he did finish it. Yeah, I did cover that, but I didn't know he had installed them yet. I heard he was going to. That's good news.
Yep.
You're talking about 36?
We're not saying 36, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what about,
Today.
They've been out there the last few days and they are dense.
They are
Okay.
things.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, there's a lot of those little stakes.
The blended Latours?
Yeah. Blended.
Anything else for,
Different kinds.
They're not very big, but I mean, they'll take all of it.
anything else for Stephen? Thank you, Stephen.
have a good
Thanks,
night.
Steve.
Can we jump back to 6A?
Yes.
All right. So Julie, who is here in our audience, tomorrow is her last day at the district. She has served the district 11 years.
She's retiring just shy of her 11 years, it would be
Yeah,
Monday.
Monday.
Yeah, it would be 11 years.
So if you don't mind, we could stand up here and hold the sign and give her
Yeah.
flowers and wish her, I'm jealous, retirement. Wish her well in her retirement and sleeping in, because we know that's what
Yeah.
Julie loves to do.
That's the main thing.
She's not a morning person.
So please congratulate her on her retirement.
You went for the picture?
Special purpose. Actually.
All the way?
Yeah, that's good, that's good. All right, you wanna hold your sign? And then, you wanna- let's all get together, squeeze in.
Closer, closer.
Like a blind man.
It goes with your shirt.
Cheese. Say retirement, retirement.
Sleeping in.
Yeah.
Play with the lightning a little bit. Smile, cheese. All right, perfect.
All right, we're gonna miss you, Julie.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you, Julie.
See you in the hood.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, my hands are so low. Thank you.
Thanks, Thanks for coming over.
See you in the morning.
Oh. She's got me crying now.
It's a no crying.
Yeah. I mean, if you really miss us, y'all, we'll be here. 3 o'clock. So you don't have to drive very far.
All right, thank you, everybody.
See you in the morning.
Bye.
All right, and then
Alright.
one other thing. Yeah. It was Ed, he said that we knew that would be
Thank you,
important to you.
What was
For
that?
waiting.
No.
I do want to mention one other thing under local achievements and recognitions. We typically do our employee recognitions of their tenure at the end of the fiscal year. I feel like this is very important that we need to at least vocalize that today, but tomorrow will be Mary's 20th anniversary with the district.
Really?
Yeah.
20 years, our longest tenured employee. So that is something huge to celebrate, but we will do that towards the end of the year, but I did want to bring it up in today's meeting because that is a huge accomplishment. So she's
And she
given.
knows every buried meter in the community.
Yeah, she does. That she does, so.
20 years.
20
Yeah,
years.
20 years tomorrow. The district is what, 39 years old?
Uh-huh. Yeah, so she's been here very much the whole time, so. That is, again, she's been a staple of this community, and Ed hit the nail on the head. If you need to find a meter, she's gonna tell you exactly where it's at.
That is invaluable.
All right, so we're 11A?
Mhm.
Well, we used to have an employee that the information, of course, we didn't have very good as-bills, but when Terry left, but we had somebody, Terry, I mean, you lost a lot of knowledge, and with her, I hope she's around someplace that we can always find her too.
Oh, yeah. All right. Ready, moving to 11A? All right, so Doug Zanner is here on behalf of the Ponds Subcommittee. Jim Latham had a prior engagement, so this RFP went through and was solicited. The Ponds Subcommittee nominated Jim, and then they have one of their volunteer groups, and then Stephanie. They were part of the selection committee. We had an astounding 9 bidders.
We had 9 bidders.
Nine
We had
bidders.
4 members of the group, but we had Harold and
Oh, yes.
and Al Slicker.
Yes. So we had 9 bids for this. I believe this is the first time it's been formally bid
Yes.
like this.
Yes.
And so the selection committee, which was supported by the Pond Subcommittee and PPAC, is recommending Superior Waterway Services. We do have a representative from Superior Waterways here. Staff's recommendation is to support your subcommittees and your selection committee. So we're just looking for your approval of the RFP.
I make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the PPAC and the Ponds Group.
I'll second your motion. I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Congratulations. Good work.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure Doug is not in online, right?
He is not,
No.
he won't be joining.
Supervisors.
Man, that was a good one.
I did give him the house keys. You can take it next month.
10 for Tiny.
All right, 11B.
All right. So, per statute, Tony, I don't know if you want to give the spiel about auditor selection. This,
Yeah, the statute requires that the board competitively solicit proposals for the annual audit, and it establishes a process for an auditor selection committee, and also criteria. Staff help prepare the criteria, put it out on the street, and obtain how many proposals, Chelsea?
2.
2 proposals, and they distributed to the board, the proposals to the board. Well, now need to convene. I think Randy had prepared sort of a script for that. To
yes.
sit as the audit selection committee. So the board basically will briefly recess as the board and convene as the auditor selection committee.
Okay.
So I think it'd be appropriate for the chair, upon a motion for the board to briefly recess as the board of supervisors and to convene as the auditor selection committee.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
What a total waste of time.
Okay, so in your capacity as our selection committee,
You got me twice.
y'all have an opportunity to review the proposals and you can rank them based upon the criteria outlined in there. I don't know if staff has any recommendations or.
We're not allowed to.
I know, didn't know, again,
The proposals were riveting.
Glad you thought so.
They were what?
Riveting. Couldn't put them down.
Something like that.
Okay. Ready for yours first.
so do you have,
I have a script.
no, but all the rankings and the.
Yes, that was provided.
This was based on that
That's what
point
you're supposed to
system.
read.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have to take it back, but I'll bring it back.
Okay. So the total points were combined from all of your individual rankings. Citron Cooperman would be the highest ranked firm. So we're looking for the selection committee's recommendation on how to proceed.
Okay, so
I recommend that we accept Citron.
do I have to go with
It would be the action of the audit selection committee recommend to the board of supervisors that they award the
this?
audit engagement to Citron Cooperman.
That's what I meant to say.
There's like a whole script here.
That's all right.
So we're not gonna do it? Okay. 27th, then we're okay.
Yeah.
The only thing that I've got on this.
Thank you.
For what it's worth is that I talked to Russ Wire, and he couldn't get over how good Brown Associates are and the background that they have with CDDs. That is basically their bread and butter. He never heard of Citron.
I will say I was
That
just,
concerned me
I was-
greatly.
the last two, not that I can chime into your selection committee, but the last 2 days I was at the FASD conference up in Punta Gorda, and Grau and Associates was a sponsor of the FASD conference.
Citron, my background, I did not find much to give me feeling that they are in the CDD, that in their bailiwick. That concerns me greatly.
Well, we never get the reports in a timely manner anyway, so.
The thing is, on the point system, it's bad, is that a preference or a plethora of the points was for the
Cost.
dollar value.
Absolutely.
And that could have swayed it right there. And when I'm doing professionals, I don't look at the dollar value until the very end. And I think we're making a mistake when we go with Citron.
I'm all about saving the money. What's the risk, Ed? What risk is it?
I want somebody that knows CDDs and knows our business.
Well, I mean, that's their only business, is audits.
There's, just like municipalities and like HOAs and like the other one, there are differences. There are
Then
differences.
they need to sharpen their pencil next time we bid it.
Alright. So you, am I looking for a motion?
So
There was a
selection,
motion, but
go ahead, Tony.
I think Bob made the motion, but I don't know if there's a
On behalf
second.
of the selection committee.
Yes.
Okay. So Bob had made a motion to go ahead and move with Citron, right?
Yes.
To recommend to the board of supervisors to engage Citron. Yes.
So that's what I was saying. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm looking for a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right, so if you can convene as the selection committee and
Recess as the selection committee.
recess.
As the selection committee.
I move to recess the
They've
selection.
been in the role of the selection committee.
Now we're in the board.
All right,
Carol
We have
recommended we.
recess and now we're
I move to recess the selection. committee.
Second.
on favor?
Aye.
Alright. So somebody moves to go back.
Now I'll make a motion that we accept the selection committee's
You
recommendation.
need to
No,
reconvene
first
as the
have to
board.
get the meeting first.
Good Lord.
Motion to reconvene as the board of supervisors.
Okay, I'll second the motion. On favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, go ahead. How do you?
Now I recommend we accept the recommendation of the selection committee to go with Citron.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, 3-1.
all right, thank you.
That was as much fun
So
as reading
that
those
was-
documents.
Items B and C.
Right.
All right, and now we're on to item D, the budget. Is there any, where you want to start with this? So I will give a brief update. Stephen Bloom is working on the capital financing for the projects that were deferred, as well as some of the Parks and Rec ones that, the larger ticket items that are in the current proposed budget. And then we did reach out to Rhonda Mossing, who assisted last time with the financing for the bond series. And so she said if that's the path you wish to pursue, she's available and ready, but waiting on Stephen Bloom to follow back up with the pricing from banks.
I would like to allow PPAC to have their July and August meetings and make recommendations to the
Oh, yeah,
board as
absolutely.
far as the 002
Yeah,
account.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
as far as I'm concerned, I don't think there's anything
This is just high
to be
water
done
mark, right?
on 002.
We're past high water mark.
Yeah, we
So
were,
now-
We're talking about ways
So this
to,
is the first way
To
reduced.
to reduce,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
And one of the things a couple of things that we left staff to do was to make a couple of checks on things. And I don't know, did you get that done or we,
we're waiting.
okay.
How about the $40,000 for the cameras?
We did
Yeah.
reach out to the sheriff's office. I'm waiting to hear back from them. I sent that email out, I think, last Friday.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I am waiting to hear back. I did ask that they have somebody come and attend, preferably the lieutenant. Was it the lieutenant? No.
Lieutenant
Or
Bloom?
captain.
I just want to know what I'm getting for my money. That's a lot of money.
Understood. And I did echo those sentiments to those folks when I sent that email, so I'm waiting to hear back on that.
Okay.
So is there any specific areas that you want to discuss, or, I mean?
So we'll just go, do you have a few, because I have one, so then maybe, Carol, you want to start with the ones you have and we'll just go through it?
I don't have any.
You don't have any? I had
I'm
the-
waiting on the other answer.
I had that and then I had to take into the camera.
Okay.
We talked about. So nothing.
No, the ones I've got are primarily focused for PPAC.
Okay. Okay, so then.
All right.
that was easy.
Moving
Well,
on.
I do have one question.
Yep.
I didn't.
See, you said it was easy.
It wasn't about the budget itself, it's about the numbers that are in the budget. I pointed out almost about a year ago that the number of ERUs, the count, was in error. Was that ever corrected?
It is not an error. We did validate this year. You're talking about the one where you had like 7 more properties or whatever that it showed.
About 50.
We validated those. They came up, there was a discrepancy of 7 initially. Russ went back and verified with LIPA that those were homes that had multiple lots and they were counted as 1 for tax purposes. So if you looked, it looked like 2. If you looked, but on LIPA, there were 1. So that was the discrepancies that we found. So we did reconcile
Mine was a little
those.
bit different. We had the listing of all of the ones in Gateway, and it showed Fairway Isles. Fairway Isles is Fairway Isles North and Fairway Isles South. It's a total of like 33 and 54, something like that, about 80 some. It only counted 1 of them, and they weren't showing anyplace else, and none of them are double lots.
Okay, I know
So I
that,
just want to make sure that the counting we've got is correct, because not only am I worried about that, I'm worried about, are they getting billed? And we know that every one of those tracks in those 2 are being billed.
the total properties that came in the information, the tax information from Lee County equals the total of the ERUs that we have in our budget.
So-
We'll double check.
So,
We'll double
so,
check.
so
Fairway
somebody-
It's undeveloped right now, Ed?
I'm sorry,
It's undeveloped?
it's totally developed.
Totally.
What I'm saying is that when we had the total listing of all the ones in Gateway, which was Pine Crest, Pinewood Lakes, Gateway Greens, well, Gateway Greens is broken up into all the 21 sections. When I went through each one of those to compare, because what I was looking for was I got an issue with Comcast.
Okay.
And I know exactly definitively, I've got 1,418 units. When I counted this up, I got around 1,350.
We'll double check.
Yep, we requested 2 separate times this year, the tax thing from Lee County. So it was the one when we initially started the budget process, and we requested it again a week, well, we got it a week before we prepared this high water mark budget, and then nothing had changed between the 2 of them.
There was a form that we had that was in, when we were doing all the budget work, that had a listing of
I
all of
have
them.
that.
You have
You can
that?
step by and you can.
Let
I'll
me
show
have
you.
that and I'll check.
Yeah.
It'll take 10 minutes and
Okay.
we'll know
Yep.
whether it's correct.
Perfect.
But that's a significant number. If it's, everybody's getting billed, that's great. I just want to make sure that we don't have 50, 60 people that are not on the rolls.
Double check. We'll get you that. All right, anything else for the budget? All right. Moving on, monthly reports. I do want to, before we jump into monthly reports, I did just come back from the FASD training, and I am 99% sure, 100% sure that you have to do that ethics, that 4-hour ethics training every single year.
And I looked it up.
So I will be following up with what is required and send you guys emails on what, I'll do like I did last time. I'll go through FASD, I'll pay it, and then I'll send you guys the links, and then you can go on your own accord and do it. But if you have any questions, let me know.
And when does it have to be done by?
End of the year,
End of
December 31st, it says.
Yeah, so,
And we have the financial disclosure that's due by July 1st.
yes,
Yeah.
so
That had to be
I
already done.
finally was
You finally
able,
got in?
after what, 30 attempts at your office?
Yeah.
So,
Did you get it in?
yeah, because we were trying to.
She couldn't get logged in, she'd reset
So I
her
literally brought
password
my
and
laptop
take
to
it
the
off.
office.
There were
I gave,
handcuffs, that's what
I
was
gave it to
wondering.
Laura and I said, here, use it.
It's all those international holdings you've
How
got.
do you know?
all right, so make sure you get your Form 1s done as well. So, all right, moving on to monthly reports. Anything for administration?
I don't have anything, no.
Okay. Make that.
You look so sad, do you want us to have
No.
something? Okay.
No. All right, nothing for administration?
Is it the amount of emails that you receive enough?
No, we're good.
Okay.
All right, moving on to public works. Anything for Paul?
I do want to check in, not with the reports, but just checking in with you.
Absolutely. Good afternoon.
Hi, how are
He's
you?
still here.
Yeah.
About to break a record.
Stop. The last one's been a
Over
year.
a year.
Now, so
Almost a
Paul,
year,
how's
over a year
everything? How are we treating you?
Good. Everything's been really good. It's been, like, I think it was mentioned the last board meeting, it was drinking out of a fire hydrant, but now it's more like a water hose. So
Okay.
it's starting to get a little more familiar, and it's much easier for me to try to get a handle of what's going on.
Make sure it's a
day-to-day.
reuse hole. I have questions. We talked last meeting, the manhole in Hidden Lakes.
Yes.
We still waiting on material, or where we at on that?
No, that was done.
It's done?
Yes.
I
The which,
wasn't aware of that.
are you talking stormwater, or are you talking manhole?
Storm sewer manhole inlet on the backside of the wall that is down
Met Tower.
about
Yes.
18 inches.
Met
to-
Tower confirmed that they completed the work.
Never heard of it.
Yes.
Okay, well, if you want to go take a look at it and tell me if it's not
I'll
to your
go take a look at
satisfaction,
it.
let us know.
Let
I
you
would
know.
have brought it up today at the HOA meeting. Okay.
I'll be more than happy to meet you there as well, so.
Okay. That's all I have.
Anything else?
I have one other thing to add, under Public Works. Met Tower did complete the damages that were done to that flowway where the gentleman went off-roading. They repaired those damages yesterday, I think it was, right?
Yes. and
Did they ever
everything
do the
complete.
fabric with everything?
Yeah.
Oh,
So those repairs were complete,
What was the total?
about like 15,000.
Well, right, we said 16, so it's pretty close. Yeah.
Pretty close to what we guessed.
Okay, and have you heard from the parents?
I have not.
Okay, so we stand on just pressing charges and moving
Where
on,
the
right?
sheriff, it's in the sheriff's hands and we wait for them to let us know.
Okay.
Anything else for Paul? He's got a snorkel, you guys don't see it, he's, you know.
No, nothing else for Paul, because he wouldn't know this one, but are we all set with the sewer lid on Pinewood? Remember that gentleman?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything back from that
Did we,
gentleman.
did we do our part?
Yeah, we did our part.
That was a few months ago.
You talking about Pinewood or Pinecrest?
No,
Correct.
Pinecrest, you're right, Pinecrest, yeah.
Haven't heard.
I haven't heard anything either.
I think he was a snowbird anyway, so he might be gone for the summer. But we finished that.
Yeah, it's been done for a few months.
Okay.
Nothing else for
Anything
Paul?
else?
No?
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul. All right, Mr. Shaw, Mr. Shaw with utilities. Anything for him?
Sanitary sewer manhole in Callaway Greens.
Found them both.
You found them?
Yep.
Both?
Yep.
Are there two?
Two.
Didn't know it, did you?
Sounds like the drawings are wrong.
You were missing two.
Why is the one coming out of Cypress Links, coming south on Championship? On the drawings I got, shows it goes in the road, into the road, and into the pump station. It looks like it deviates and goes onto the golf course.
It does.
And then does it beeline straight over to the manhole in front of the,
There's a second manhole in the grass. It shows it on our plans show it in the road, but we found it in the grass.
well, there's one wide open up on the golf course.
Yeah, there's
Is there
another
another one?
There's another one in the
Oh.
grass.
So that's the one that brings those two together and goes into the station.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
yeah. So.
What's the plan on,
We're
because we're gonna be doing cleaning up there, we gotta get those opened up.
Yeah, so supposedly it had been done and I questioned it and they went back and reviewed and realized that they had shot from the wrong manhole. So they're supposed to coordinate with me when they get back about finding that. At that time, we will come and expose that manhole. I didn't want to dig a hole there in the grass. It's about 8 inches deep. I am working on.
That's on the golf course?
On the golf course.
Okay.
I'm working on procuring some composite lockable ceiling lids so that we can go ahead and replace those.
What about the one in front of the median, Callaway Greens? Is that's in the blacktop?
No, it's in the median.
So it's up in the grass?
It's up in the median, in the plants as well. The staff has kind of uncovered that and feathered it back so it's easier for us to find. But that is not on our CCTV list for this round, so. But the one that's in the grass by the master manhole is absolutely on our list.
So what do? We're only coming down to that point and not going any further south?
Yeah, it goes from the master manhole, I believe it goes a manhole each direction.
Correct.
Is what the plan of action was.
We'll work
from
with Tetra Tech
so,
on next phase, but right now your vendor's waiting on a right-of-way permit.
We're waiting on right-of-way permits.
From the county.
We got an email earlier today that Lee County said that they will have it reviewed sometime next week.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody has ever been in, or the light of day has ever seen the bottom of those 2 manholes. I think they've been buried for 40 years.
Yeah, so they were a challenge to find, and staff did a great job on finding them. I spent a little bit of time and didn't find them quickly, and I passed it off, and they did a great job of finding them, so.
Anything else for Bill?
No. Thank you, Bill.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Liked all the pretty pictures.
What?
I liked all the pretty pictures of football.
Oh, yeah. Pictures are always,
Photos, yeah.
yeah, you're not good at that.
Okay, following the staff discussion, direction, and requesting, I guess, greater participation, and also having some interns or community volunteers working with staff to upgrade the volunteer waivers. So I think we're about 99% there. As you noticed in the agenda packet, there's 2 resolutions that is part of the notices for the budget adoption, as well as reviewing the one. There's another one that's going to be in the newspaper also. It has the charts and the maps. And Georgia did the initial draft. I reviewed that. District manager engagement letter that's been completed. If I can just get a signed copy of it when you have a chance.
Yes, Bobby will sign it.
That'd be great. To remove those caps that were in there, to provide greater flexibility to the board in the future. Assessment methodology review revisions. Again, those are the agenda items. You saw those resolutions today. The Genope Master Agreement for IT Services was approved today. Yes.
Finally.
That was
Fun.
there was a situation where the IT vendor said they did not have a contract format. They came up with a contract format that was horrible. And it's taken, almost a year to work with them to finalize it because of certain issues about liability and indemnification was the holdup.
Do they work in municipal government at all?
Apparently not.
That was going to be my guess.
I've run into that with a lot of vendors that don't work with local governments, and they give you a contract that has all these non-cancelable, non-termination clauses, all these, and it's an education. I had another client who wanted to engage a roofer, and the roofer had never had a contract with a governmental body before, and they had all kinds of interesting provisions, and just put it that way. The irrigation meter, Stony Brook Village, we finally had that. We appreciate the cooperation from U.S. Homes. That was an irrigation meter that should have been conveyed many, many years ago. And so U.S. Homes executed a quick claim bill of sale just to clean it up so that Chelsea mentioned before, I think you're starting at Stony Brook Village soon, or you have the meters.
Yeah. No, they're done.
They're done. So that was just in time.
Yep.
The Stony Brook Roads and Streets, we had a good conference call this week with the council for all the parties. I appreciate the fact that even though Charles Mann was unavailable, vacation, personal time off, one of the other partners, Sinead Thompson, joined the call, and apparently she had held communications with in-house counsel for U.S. Home, and she had 2 questions with regards to the form of the agreement, and we addressed those and made 1 revision to the agreement and sent it out for circulation. And the Stony Brook Council replied that they were comfortable with that and just waiting for counsel for Lennar, so I think we're much closer than we were before. I feel very comfortable about that. It's a matter of finalizing the document, putting all the exhibits together, one big nice package, and getting it all executed in a timely manner to wrap it up well in advance of the.
And I have to echo Tom's comments earlier. The HOA has been great to work with,
Yes.
processing some of the items to spend down this money, so.
And so Tony, when might this actually happen?
I'm waiting for the counsel for Lennar and someone to get back to me, and then I can have a better handle of it, because then it's just a matter of making sure we.
Are we talking July? Are we talking
Oh, no, we're
August?
talking July. I mean,
July.
Yeah, July,
Okay.
yes. That's
Well, at the end of our call, we set a deadline of ourselves for 2 weeks from, what was that, Wednesday or
Yes.
Tuesday? So 2 weeks, that's the goal.
So
Just like that.
could be the end of this month.
That
Big, beautiful bill.
Well, we're not giving any acronyms.
Yeah.
I can come up with one easy enough, I'm not going to. Santa Luz already reported on that again. I think it's a good collaborative effort with the association now that we have communications with their council also. Just a matter of, it's just very frustrating for all of us, quite frankly. Let's see, it's on hold. The rest of them are, on Daniels Parkway Apartments, the utility items, had a conversation with the attorney for in-house counsel Lance for the Daniels Parkway developers with regards to the two agreements, the upsizing agreement and the well agreement. On the upsizing agreement, I think we're probably 99% there in the language of the agreement. There's just some clarification needed because one of their concerns was E-Verify because of the aggressive job site and construction activities going on from enforcement from immigration purposes. We talked through that, and then the well agreement, I'm waiting for comments back on that, and I need to talk with Chelsea about just clarifying one aspect of it, so we can hopefully have that by July 17th board meeting, like to have that wrapped up and approved by the board. Tunnel Lakes Office Park, I prepared a revised quitclaim deed for that to provide the, I'll call it duty to defend on behalf of the district if Mr. Sardo were to ever be sued. So I'm not sure, Ed, if I can send that to you first and then see what you can get from that.
Try.
Okay. And let me just see what else. Just any questions the board has for anything else?
No, one thing I would just comment on the things that are on hold, if this could be broken down in two sections, the active, that's what I really consider it. And then anything that's on hold, if it becomes active, then move it up.
Very good. Yeah, I'm moving items around per your suggestion last time, but I'll do that again. Yes, sir.
And have we had any more correspondence with the attorney? I think her name is Jennifer or something.
Have not.
From PPCA?
Have not.
Have not.
But apparently another district settled their lawsuit per court filing, but I don't know what.
Say it again, Tony.
Apparently that other district settled their lawsuit per court filing.
That's the Renaissance?
Yeah. But I've heard nothing further.
Okay. And the ball is in that court?
I'd say yes.
It is not in your court?
I'd say no, not in mine. Yes, in theirs.
Thank you.
Anything else for Tony?
No.
I just wanted to bring the next item, if you're ready, Flavia.
Yeah, I'm ready.
The meeting schedule. If you guys have any, you have technically a meeting scheduled for 1/1. I didn't know if you wanted the workshop and the regular meeting. And then, just trying to look at any other holidays that I see.
Are those the only one?
I think that may be the only one, so if you want to adjust those, since that's a holiday for us.
7/2 is probably another one like we have now, real close to the 4th.
So if you'd like,
7/2 and 1/1. 1/1, that's not a good day.
so
I'll move to cancel the January 1st, 2026 and the July 2nd, 2026 meetings.
I'll second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
so thank you, we will get this updated and then we will get this advertised, come closer to the end of the fiscal. All right, the next is agenda management. You'll notice this list is getting smaller because we're wrapping up a lot of projects and you'll see it start to grow closer to the new fiscal. Any questions?
Have we heard anything relative to power and power availability to provide for the aerators that we have yet to install?
We have not started that project yet. The trunk line ponds is what you're talking about?
Yeah.
We have not started that project yet. We're trying to get all of these off of our plate before we take on a new one. As soon as we start that, FPL is our first contact to find out where the closest power sources are. But we have not started.
Why are we only doing the trunk line? Why not blanket do them all?
We started, that's
The,
what.
the board directed us to do trunk line, focus on trunk
Well,
line.
it's gonna be a lot of money no matter what, but I mean, continuing the piecemeal when we know it benefits the ponds.
Well,
Why don't we just bite the bullet and
We only have so much funding left within the 2023 bond series. And so the last direction that staff was given was the trunk line ponds.
okay, how many ponds are in that versus our total ponds versus the ones that are already done? We have 118
trunk
ponds,
lines probably got 15 ballpark.
15 done?
No, 15, no, we don't have any done.
No,
15,
we have some.
Yeah, we have a problem.
Minimal, not much.
I'll say
maybe
four.
15 in the trunk, in the flow, what I call the flowway.
Okay.
15 ponds make up the flowway, all the way from Daniels Preserve, all the way to,
And quite honest, that would be the last thing I would do
that's
from
just.
an aeration point of view. The ponds would be better served by having it, because the flowway water's leaving us.
And that's the key. That's where the water is dumped in, that's why you want to make sure it's high-quality water. If you
Well, no, I'm not
take-
looking at that quality of the water, I'm looking at the beneficial effects on the ponds.
Well, it's
And
both,
the,
but
and
the way you always do it is you go from the bottom to the top. You don't go from the top to the bottom. You take that, you're gonna be taking and having the, what do you call it? Clean water going right into the dirty water. That makes no sense. You don't wanna do it that way, you wanna go the other way.
I completely disagree with that, maybe we're not talking the same thing.
Engineering
If you
wise, I
do-
think it'll be the other.
Okay, I'm not an engineer, I'm just a dull lady.
But the
But if
thing-
I keep my ponds aerated and clean, I won't have fish kill, and you can forestall dredging and things like that. I don't,
Well, see, that's an issue that we haven't even discussed yet.
well, that's
We
part
don't
of the
know
reason why.
until we do those,
Bathymetrics.
bathymetrics, we aren't gonna know just how bad those ponds are. Nobody knows.
That's exactly my point. We need to get a baseline. We need to know what we've got. But if you take care of the constituent ponds that are not part of the flowway, and then the flowway would be the last thing we would do, is you're not doing this to improve the water quality per se. You are putting oxygen in the water, and you are forestalling future dredging. But you want to have the satellites done first.
We'll continue to disagree on that. I think it's just.
Well, I mean, we need to have, maybe we'll have a workshop on this, so we can all understand it and what we're doing. I mean, to put a aerator in a flowway is like putting a garden hose.
Keep in
Why?
mind, the flowway is a pond. All of our ponds, just happens to be that several of our ponds, about 15 of them in a row, make up what is the flowway. The ponds feed ponds, feed ponds, feed ponds, and feed the flowway. The issue is that when we have the water quality, the last thing we want to do is to dump dirty water into the clean water of the flowway that we're going to discharge out. When somebody comes in and starts doing checks here, the first place they're going to go to is down to Basin 1. And that's where all of our stuff
Correct.
ends up. I want to have the cleanest water possible going down that flowway, going into that deal.
I want the cleanest water possible in the ponds that contribute to it. Then you can have a problem
Then it
with
doesn't
that.
show up. No, yeah, it'll get diluted. That's your problem. You don't want to do it that way.
Okay. I recommend we have a
The issue is, though,
Yeah.
the reason I brought it up is I just tried to find out what is it going to cost just to, because we all know that that's where the money's at.
The money's in the.
The money is in the electrical, is we gotta find out how we can do it. Alls I know is that within Gateway Greens, we have had several projects recently to where we have had to have electricity. And FPL could not even handle that minor amount of electricity
Yeah.
off of the transformer.
I don't know what they're doing with all the electric cars and things, but that's a different issue. But if your goal is to have clean water and prevent fish kills, and I'm not talking about clean water out at Basin 1. If it's clean going in, it'll be clean coming out. But you want to clean up your ponds that are providing the water to them. But again, we're going to agree to disagree until we get experts in. That's what sold Pelican on doing
We
everything.
need to get in and get this process started because we've kicked this down a long way. But I just don't want to take and jump into it not knowing what's ahead of us relative to the electrical side.
Well,
I
we
want to
haven't,
see the whole pie. I don't want to see a piece of it. I want to see the whole pie.
Well, I think we need to see the whole picture of everything we've got in the community.
What do we
Because
have?
every one of our communities
need?
are all the same. FPL's got a transformer that serves every 4 to 6 to 8 houses. That's it.
so
And they do not upsize them.
I'll make a suggestion, because I know Public Works and Austin and Tetra Tech, we're working on getting all of our GIS updated with all of this information. I know Ed's working on the Pelican side.
Yeah.
So once we get that picture, that big picture to paint, we can bring it back in front of you as a workshop on the Gateway side. I think you guys have handled all
We're done. I
of
mean-
your aerators, but then we can have a lively discussion with exhibits in front of us, and you tell us the direction you'd like.
Yeah,
us
this
to
is going to be a big chunk of money. We got to plan for it.
When might that be?
Their priority right now is the waterway stuff, so I would say in the next 6 months.
Did you guys ever do?
Okay, so early next year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you guys ever do an analysis of what your cost per acre was, all in?
No,
Because I'd heard numbers of 5,000 per acre.
we spent probably
Was
over $1
5,000?
million
Okay,
in doing our 58 ponds.
I don't know.
But it got a lot cheaper for
How many
us.
acres do we have in our 70 ponds, you know?
But Ed, one of the keys to our success was because we got it in early. The only thing we really had to provide electric to was the original old Pelican. When it came time for new Pelican, this board changed, at our director request, changed the criteria manual. So then the developer had to put electric at all of our ponds.
Well, the other thing too is
And
that
it still
you
costs you $1
didn't,
million.
I'm sorry?
And it still costs you $1 million, just for the old Pelican?
Well, pretty much for old Pelican.
the other thing too that you had that you didn't have that we have is a bathymetric problem. You have relatively new ponds. Our ponds are 40 years old. And we have no idea what we're going to get into relative to having to.
We don't have a lot of robust data because we didn't pay for real downtown.
I'm really worried as to what the capacity of our ponds is versus what they were built to be.
Well, the rule of
That's a
thumb
big
was,
issue.
the rule of thumb that we were directed by the county was you got about a 40, maybe 45-year lifespan. However, if you put in aeration, that jumps to 65 to 80-year lifespan.
And our problem is that if
You're
you're putting
already-
aeration on a 40-year-old pond, what are you going to stir up?
Yeah.
That's,
Do you have fish kills? Do we have fish kills over here?
We had one time at Gateway Greens.
Because that was one of our big drivers.
That's the only, and then we had one in Magnolia Lakes, and I think it was 2011. That's
we had a
it.
horrible,
When the fish
horrible
killed, it
fish
stacked up
kill
the whole
on
community.
116, about 4 years ago. The good news of it was the collateral damage, we got rid of all the play
Invasive?
posts.
Huh.
We got rid of the play posts. But,
I couldn't get over how many fish were in those stupid ponds. Thousands of fish were in. And they washed up on the shore. It was amazing.
anyway, we need to get some idea and a handle on what this is going
Yeah,
to cost.
at least make a plan.
All
Make
right.
a plan and know what it's going to cost. I agree with that.
All right, so we'll have it as a workshop with some exhibits and some information moving forward.
Okay.
Early next year.
Yes.
January 1st.
Yeah,
For
but
that,
I
we-
just canceled.
Yeah. what you just did.
Anything
I'll be
else?
home,
you
have fun.
nothing for gym management.
Okay, anybody else has anything to add? All
For
right.
agenda management?
Yeah. All right, let's move on.
Are we supervisors?
Future business, yeah, 11:14A.
Okay.
And we did that?
We did
And
that.
then
We did that already.
Yes,
We're at
that's
15.
fine. Bob, do you have anything?
I have two things. First is, what is the status of digitizing Tripper McGee's closet with all the,
I love your name, your name of it, it's great. The hot box is what we call it.
Yeah, the hot box.
They just came, I think, last week or the week before to get a stack of them. So we're slowly sending them off.
so it's on process?
Yes.
Okay, I never hear about it. and I-
Yeah, and then we're trying to clear out any of the cabinets that are in here, so you may see, what are they called, the
The
shredder, jeez Louise.
They're gonna, well, yeah, there may be a shredder here, otherwise the stuff that I had scanned from upstairs, I told them just to destroy it, I don't need it back.
All those
Do we have-
file cabinets, not plans, not drawings, but those boxes of files. What are we gonna do with all that?
So, well, we're gonna organize that up there and get the banker's box stacked cabinets you can get on Amazon. We did it when I was at the beach. And we're gonna get it organized and get it properly labeled and organize it up there. We're not taking it to the new building.
Good. That's a fire hazard looking.
Ballpark, what percent have we accomplished? 10%, 20, 30?
Probably 5%.
Okay.
But we're trying, so.
There's a lot, it's a lot to go through, and they did not do a very good job of organizing it, so it's really difficult. You have a banker's box
It's a mess.
with items in it that can be disposed of after 3 years, with items that need to be kept for 25, and some have to be 10, and they're all in the same box. So we actually, it's not like I can just take a box and say, here. We have to go through everything and separate it and figure it out, so it's.
Who has the
it's-
knowledge to do that?
She
That's
does.
my
I was gonna say, one of the staff is just gonna
Starting
go up there
up
and
the
do that.
records.
Well, we have a retention schedule that's dictated by the state,
Yep.
and that's what we follow. If we have any questions, we always reach out to Tony.
Tony wants us to keep
Send the
everything
box to
forever.
Tony.
In fact, there's two retention schedules, that's the beauty. One's for general records, one's for utilities, one
Yeah.
for the state.
And then employment are different, and, yeah,
Okay, well, that was the first thing.
5%.
maybe 10.
I was hoping we were further along. The second question is, you were going to investigate alternative timekeeping measurement systems. Have we done anything on that?
Yeah.
Yes, Laura, I told you he was going to say that.
I did.
We bet $1 earlier, I lost. I thought I would, but you just proved me wrong.
Yep, I thought I was gonna have to give her $1, so thank you.
So we did look into it. It's about $20 per person per month for average cost for timekeeping. So if the board wants to expend those dollars, we'll dig a little
And
deeper
we're
into.
talking about 11 people.
No, we're talking about 36 people.
No, I don't have any interest in utilities people. That's all I have is in what components we're sharing. It's not a lot of people,
Yeah.
$5 a week.
Everyone but utilities, so half the staff, so 17,
Yeah.
roughly 18.
Yeah, half. So it's approximately $20 per person per month.
So 11 times 20.
It's more.
No,
than-
it's more than 11, you're paying for half the staff now. Going
Anybody
forward.
we're paying for, I wouldn't.
Out of the general, so let's split the baby, let's just say 15, right?
Okay.
Times $20 per person.
And when I look at today's sheets again, it's just stark to me how few projects relate to Pelican and how many relate to other things. And I really don't have a gut feeling that it's being equitable. Not everybody, not everything, but in total. And I would really like to get a comfort feeling. So even if we did a trial of doing this system for a set number of months, I would support that. And then I'll shut up about it. If we, whatever the data says, I've always said I'll accept it, whether it increases our cost or reduces it. But I'd like to have confidence that it's more than, Julie, how many hours you work? 30 on Pelican and 20 on that.
Well, and I don't intend for this to be argumentative, but the system is only as good as the person putting the information into it. And so I personally don't see where we would get a different outcome, but if the board is interested in investing that type of money, we can implement it for your period of time that you'd like. I thought us doing this Excel sheet and tracking our time was that, but it seems like you're not happy with it, so.
What's the difference?
Excel sheets, I could print the whole year today.
Yeah, but I mean, the information is critical that the person entering the data enters the right code of what they're doing.
But we
Whether
never
you have a
really,
timesheet or whether you.
but
have
Ed,
it
when that
automatic,
phone rings,
that's
we
the
don't ask
problem.
them to do it. That's the key difference. We go in hindsight, what did you do last week? They're not putting it in like Tony's time. You can speak, how do you do it in your firm? When a phone rings, somebody gets billed, right? In a fashion.
Yeah, for billable work, we enter the time in our system.
Okay. So that's all I'm looking for. I'm not looking to make a mountain out of a molehill. But I don't think it's very difficult to have 5 columns next to it, and Bob Gephardt called at 8 o'clock, talked to me at 9 o'clock, that's an hour.
Plus, we have increased.
What did you
staff
possibly
member
say
tracking.
for now?
If I'm talking to Laura, it's a
Oh,
lot of
It's double.
repetitive.
Don't talk about.
Everything's
Slow
double.
retention,
oh, okay.
slow
Everything's double.
retention, senior retention.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So where do we go?
So who will be paying for it? Is it a Pelican payment, or is it something that we're gonna be dividing in between?
Well, we divide your salaries now, so why
Well,
would
so that's what I'm saying. Are you proposing,
If it's a Pelican deal, it's a Pelican expense.
that's what I was thinking.
It's
I
all one
support
district,
it.
wait, it's all one district. I just want to make sure that we as a group are appropriating staff resources to the Bourbon Center property. That's all I want to see. And I don't have any confidence for doing that right now.
See, I would like to, I'll support it both ways. I would like to see if there's any discrepancy, then I would say go ahead and do it. So far, have you encountered any discrepancies?
I can't encounter this, answer your question, yes, in the gut. Because when I see the same, I get reports that are, like I said, I could do it today for the whole year.
Mhm.
That doesn't do me any good.
Have we got better updating them, or is it
No,
still
it hasn't
too
changed
generic?
one bit. Nothing has changed.
Because I know we did ask for that, to them not to be so generic and just a little bit more detail.
I will say, we did ask that of staff, but when you have an accounts payable person doing accounts payable 8 hours a day and answering the phone 8 hours a day, they're not gonna keep track of the 7 phone calls they got from Pelican and the 23 that they got from Gateway and the 2 they got from Lehigh. We don't track to that point, not myself included. So like, I went to that conference the past 2 days. I said, how do I break this apart, you know, between Gateway, because it benefits everybody. And I mean, I did it by the 59, 14, 27, because that's how we measure it, but.
And to your point, 2 years ago, we did it 59, Pelican was paying like 7% of the total, but we didn't have any problem taking it from 7 to 20. That happened in a meeting. And all I'm saying is, what was the data that made that change? That's what I'm looking at.
I think I'd like to sit down with you to try to better understand one-on-one, because if you're upset with the comments.
No, I'm not upset with the comments. I just don't have it.
He cannot validate.
Nothing is
He cannot
robust.
validate the hours because the comments are too generic and they look month to month to be the same.
And I
So
go back.
that's what he's
Yeah,
saying.
because we sat here as a board. I remember when Stony Brook said, oh, you got us at 5%, it should only be 4 for this person. But we all did it. It was nothing scientific about it. We just did it, okay? And I never got involved in it because whatever the number was, the number was. But when we went from every single person that was coming into the O2 account went up by a minimum of 100%, one went up 200%. That's where the flag dropped down for me. I'd like to know why that change happened.
So I go back to my initial comment of, regardless of the system you implement, I don't see that being any different than the Excel sheet that we're doing now because of the person inputting the information. Like, the person's not gonna change. Well, Julie's retiring tomorrow, so that person's gonna change, but speaking for myself, I'm still gonna be the one to put in the information and track the hours.
For you, right.
So I don't see that being a huge change from what would be 6 months from now.
Well, again, I don't have a system in place. All I want to do is, there's got to be a system somewhere that can do this very easily. We're not the first organization that wanted to know what their employees are spending their time on.
Can I ask a question? I'm gonna put Tony on the spot. I think what makes this difficult is that, like, when you work on stuff, if you have billable time, you get to sit and work on one thing that's billable time for that one thing. You're not doing payables for this person while you're answering a call for this, while you're doing something else for this all at the same time. That's what makes this so difficult, and that's part of why our tracking is so generic. Because I can tell you, I know, like, overall, like, I approve POs and process invoices and approve invoices all day long. I don't set aside a certain time where I just sit and do it. So it's very difficult to track. Same with Julie, like Chelsea said, that's what she does all day long. She's in there, she's opening mail, she's answering phone calls, she's doing emails, she's sending out things for approval, she's processing invoices. There is no way for us to just say, okay, I'm gonna sort all this and just do Pelican. And I'm gonna sort all this and just do general fund. We don't work like that. And that's what makes what you're asking for challenging.
That is actually probably the most helpful explanation that I got.
Say that again.
Your explanation of it.
Well, I
That's why it's so
understand the
generic.
problem, and I don't have a solution. I just said, there's got to be a solution out there. I mean, if you go into a doctor's office, they don't bill everybody the very same thing. If one person's getting an MRI, whatever, then they're going to pay a certain fee. If you're just with a teleprompter or a Zoom meeting, it's another cost.
Right, but you're
Just
able
can't be
to separate that by
Separate each
patient.
task. This,
Well,
you know,
We can't do that.
If you know what your task, again, I don't want to engineer here, but I would just like to have somebody look at it and come up with a
The only
resolution.
way you can
How
do it is
about
this.
if you do it on your end and you come up to us, would they be willing to do that? Like, let's go
Oh, I
next.
could do it today.
The
Well,
only
then
way
let's
Will
get-
will you buy my recommendation? because we're back to
No, I-
7%.
The only way you can do it is a phase.
That's what I mean.
But the issue and the points he's
I hope I
bringing
had a lot of notes.
is, I'll bring up Stony Brook, use that as a good example. Daniel's Preserve. If we're doing it for them, why aren't we doing it for them?
We ought to do it for everybody.
Do it for everybody.
Then everybody's gonna be
But
charged something.
Then you're back to the deal, and it's all gonna merge back together anyway, so I just don't understand why we need.
I feel like we lose productivity because you have to lose time to track what you're doing during the day. And because we're not able to silo our tasks the way that somebody who has billable hours can sit and silo by client or by patient or whatever, we can't work like that. It's just, it won't work in our work environment. The only way that I can really silo my time is like for sitting here, or sitting in a PPAC meeting, or if I have a specific meeting that I attend, but the rest of staff doesn't
Well,
have that.
But
you know,
to pull the thread on that, even sitting here,
I don't charge all my time to Pelican, it's split up.
Well, this is different, this.
But this is really the only way I can tell you, we had a board meeting and I spent this much time at the board meeting, it's really hard to silo that.
Okay, think of it a different way. There's a number of volunteer organizations in Pelican. One of them focuses on ponds. Another focuses on safety and security, and a third on landscape. Now, those are dedicated people and resources. Somebody over here is doing the same function. When we have all these people over there doing volunteering, we should be getting a price break for that, because it relieves staff over somebody over here from doing it. But if you're telling me, or this is what I think I hear, if all of those people in Pelican all resign tomorrow, and all the work came over here, and you're saying there wouldn't be a change in allocation of the time of the staff, it would be exactly today what it was before, you wouldn't hear it right out of me. But we're providing the labor and not getting the benefit, because arbitrarily, somebody said a year and a half ago, this person's now 100% increased in time, this person's 150% increase, this person's 200. I objected to that when that happened, because there wasn't anything to back it up, and I still feel that.
so I can try to respond to that. I'm not saying that if all of your subcommittees volunteer, if they resigned and didn't want to volunteer anymore, that we could absorb that. Absolutely not. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is we would honestly have to reevaluate. We would have to see if there's additional capacity that staff could take on. Now, using that example, the pond RFP we just did, okay? I was involved in that. Now, had Jim or Doug not been the point person, it would have taken additional resources on our side. So you are having a cost savings because you're only having really myself touch it or Randy touch it instead of writing the whole thing, like what we do on our side. So I see a cost savings in that. But that's where I'd like to sit.
Okay, I'll be happy to sit and talk, but we've got 30% of the community, which is Pelican. And they're doing an awful lot of work. Over here, there's 60% of the community, and generally speaking, staff does it all. Would it not make sense if they get a 30% break, if we just had a flat rate for everything, and then you get a 30% break because we're doing it? I don't know how you cut the baby. Ed, I understand where you're coming from. But something just doesn't sit right with me about this process. That massive increase a year and a half ago wasn't any more thought out than here's what we think. That still sticks in my mind.
Well, we'll have the full year's data at the end of the fiscal year. We'll bring that and report that to the group.
That's not going to change. I see that every month and it doesn't change.
Well, the thing you're gonna run into is, I'm gonna hear.
I mean, everything is always 40 hours. We got 40 hours.
Because that's what they've been budgeted for this year. Now, you're not gonna see 40 from me, I mean, the maintenance staff, you were budgeted 40 hours, so we're trying to stay within that budget.
But
Now,
not
next year,
Next year it's not.
Exactly, and next year,
And
everything is on the table. So instead of, and I just had this conversation with Paul this morning, Laura heard me. What was only dedicated 40 hours, if you guys have 17 tasks that need
It
done,
needs to be done.
it's gonna get done. It's not gonna be,
But my whole point in that, and I agree with what you're saying, I don't agree with the change, but it is what it is. When I look at our tasks on all these lists, and I look at specifically, and maybe I shouldn't, but I look at what on the list of 18 or 19 things our Pelican Sullivan is an organization. But yet, cost-wise, I'm paying a hell of a price, and we got all the volunteers. It just doesn't, the scales don't balance more. I don't know what the alternative is, but the scales don't balance.
let's you and I talk,
Okay.
please. And I mean, if you guys want to entertain the $20 per person per month, that's your.
Well, that's a small
that's the
price. I
cost.
mean, we got what, we're spending millions of dollars. I mean, that's peanuts as far as I'm concerned, the nickels and dimes. I don't want to waste money though. I don't want to pay for, the Lee County things. That's $40,000 a year. To do $20,000 a month, that's won't even come to $2,000 a year. I would just like to have a good, comfortable feeling how we're allocating, and I don't have that. And that's all I got.
Anything else? That's it? Ed?
Nothing.
Okay, the only thing I have is, have we had any, oh, sorry, I thought I started with you. I always start with you.
You always do. That's
I always
you
start
went
with
to him
Carol,
first,
yeah. Because I think she was doing something. Sorry, Kara, go ahead.
Okay. We, at the last meeting, we finished up your evaluation and voted on the increase and all that sort of stuff. So between now and the next meeting, could you provide for the board your goals now for the next fiscal year? And if you feel you have adequate resources in order to complete those goals, or where you might feel you need changes. So what are your goals for next year? Do you have the resources to do it? And approximation of time to complete.
To complete, okay. Yep, I can work on that.
And then if we could have that as an agenda item at the second meeting in July.
Yep,
Just so we can all review it, so we know that this is,
the expectations.
yeah.
Okay. And if you have any suggestions in the meantime of any goals, please feel free to email me.
And then the last 2 years, we've had a board workshop in which we had the facilitator come and all that sort of stuff. I think we are on a path now with setting our goals and everything early. I don't know that we necessarily need them this year.
Okay.
I don't know what the feeling of the
I
other.
agree with you.
I'd like to
board-
see that money.
I agree with you, Karen. I think we're in a good path.
Right. And I think some of the other things aren't going to be worked out at a workshop like that, so, you know, the elephant in the room hasn't changed. Let's put it that way. So I think we just take it meeting by meeting and move forward.
That's it?
Yes.
I just want to, have we ever received anything from Ponds Committee regarding the Gateway Pond standard?
So, Peter, the gentleman that did audit the pond subcommittee, he originally wrote the Pelican one. He's been out of town and had some other
Okay, so
things
just
come up,
nothing.
so we have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow.
Okay.
That we're gonna meet with him, staff and myself, and he wrote the Pelican Ponds standard over there.
He wrote the book for us.
The plan is to get a working draft put together over the next couple months, get it back to the pond subcommittee, back through that channel, and then back in front of you for your consideration.
Okay, so I just need clarification, because I didn't think we were starting the document from scratch. I thought we're keeping the document we have, and then we're
Merge.
gonna opine and merge and.
To try it.
Okay, okay,
Exactly.
that's it. Okay, I don't have anything else.
The last thing I have before we adjourn, I will be flying out of town. I'll be going out of town next Thursday to Indiana for my grandfather's celebration of life, and then afterwards to North Carolina. As always, you can call me, you can email me, I'll be checking emails, but I'll be returning on July 7th. So I will be out June 26th, returning to the office on July 7th.
Again, you're not gonna be at the pool party?
You guys, yeah, pretty much. You guys take pictures for me.
Alright,
Take a
so the
swim in the pool.
28th.
I'm gonna be going the very same time as you.
There we go. You're going a little further north on probably.
On Michigan.
Okay, so that's it, make a motion to adjourn?
All right, thank you.
Second.
All right.
It was nice to see they're breaking ground, more than just shoveling dirt at the
Oh, over
building.
there,
They're trying to do things.
See you in a month.
That's right, you don't have a meeting.